Okay, so thank you all for joining. Appreciate you all. Just so you know that we are recording this session so that we can share with any teachers or educators that couldn't hop on the call today. We know that everyone has after school responsibilities, so we appreciate you joining. All right, so we're going to start our agenda for today. So before we get going, Jennifer Sproul, I'm the president of the Maryland Center for Construction Education and Innovation. We are the C&D cluster affiliate, as probably everybody on this call knows. The agenda for today, we're going to give a quick update on what we've got going on at MCCEI that we believe can help educators on the call. Chuck is going to give a Skills USA update. And then we have our speakers, Karen Holland from Built by Baltimore, Mike Rosenband from Carver House, and Amy Rock from Prince George's County Public Schools. Okay. So quick overview of our focus here at MCCEI. So in addition to serving as the construction and development cluster for MSDE, our goals are obviously being the C&D cluster aligns with our goals. For example, strengthening, increasing enrollment in K-12 C&D cluster programs, advocating and increasing the percentage of women in the AEC industry starts at the K-12 level, right? Again, same thing with clearing pathways to the environment. So our partnerships with MSDE are super important to us. We have been participating at the PAC levels. We just went to Baltimore City Public Schools. We know we've got Baltimore County coming up. If your school system has a PAC, we want to be invited to it, especially if you're far away and you have a Zoom. We would love to be there. So we are in the Baltimore area, but again, we're a statewide organization, so we want to support all of the school systems in Maryland. Okay. So some of the other things that we're doing, we are the ACE Mentor Baltimore affiliate. So we are working on partnering the ACE program with both schools and mentors right now. We are currently connecting to our old schools, but we are open to enrolling new schools into the program this year. And we are also doing a online only version that is not going to be affiliated with a school. So even if you're not in the Baltimore area, but if you're still in Maryland, we are open if you want to potentially offer this to your students. If you don't have ACE in your area, we're trying to do this online only option. Schools that are already in ACE have the option of doing either online or in person. We were just talking to Owings Mills High School today about the fact that it's going to be a hybrid program for them. They're going to suggest that we're in person, but we'll try and do a Zoom to allow for any kids maybe that are still at home doing virtual for that as well. We're really excited about the program for this year. We are going to be taking on the Rashfield project that's downtown Baltimore, and we are pretending that we're knocking down the elderly Rusty Scupper restaurant and turning it into what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, a nature center. Sorry. Word is like just escaped my brain for a second. A nature center. I think it's gonna be really cool. It's a very structured program this year, and the kids are I think going to have a lot less decisions to make, but also get more out of the program. We've also joined with a bunch of different professional organizations like IFMA and CMAA and AIA to strengthen the program, and actually talk to a group of interior designers yesterday. So I think we're just growing the program and getting it a lot stronger. If you're interested in either the online program for your students, or if you want to get ACE into your school, or be already in ACE but want to make sure we're there again, reach out to Emma. Her email address is on here, and I think she could probably put it in chat as well. Okay. You all should have received your copy of Build Your Path in the schools. If you haven't gotten it, please let us know. We sent them to guidance counselors and or CTE teachers. We knew that there were some changes this year, so we didn't put teacher names on them this year. So we've heard that a few of them have gotten lost in schools. So if that happens, if you haven't located your Build Your Paths yet, please let us know and we'll make sure we get them to you. In addition to the guidebooks, we do have podcasts, videos. I think we'll have 3 new videos out this year. The third one is premiering in a couple weeks, right, Matt? So the first one we had was on apprenticeships. The second one we did was on becoming an electrician. And this third one will be on career pathways in the built environment. Additionally, on our YouTube, we also, every webinar that we host gets shared on our YouTube as well. And in this will actually live on YouTube as well. So there's more than just our paid videos that we create on there. We are on all the social media channels. We even have a TikTok. We're trying to expand that a little bit too and put on some of our clips of our videos as well. And then finally, we do have a scholarship program. We're currently fundraising for it right now. We have a raffle going on, mccci.org/raffle. There's some really awesome prizes. There's 2 round-trip tickets to anywhere in the United States. There's $250 Hilton gift cards, and then a bunch of other baskets and whatnot. So we're raising money right now, but in February, the scholarship applications will be out. They are open to high school seniors as well as post-secondary students as well. Okay. I know last year, some of you are aware that we launched a guest speaker series. It kind of went on a little bit of a hold thanks to hybrid school, but we're back in action this year. Again, if you want, there's a link at the bottom. We're working with the Building Congress and Exchange on promoting this. Our goal is to have a database of industry professionals who will be at the ready to get into your classrooms, talk to your students about their careers, and we're trying to make sure that our database is incredibly diverse in demographics as well as market, like what part of the industry they're in. So if you are teaching a bunch of, I don't know, girls in Baltimore City about being plumbers, if you want a Black female plumber to come into your classroom, you can ask us that. We want the people talking to your students to be somebody that they can relate to. So please be as specific as possible as what you want. If you just need a warm body and you don't care who that is, that's great too. We've got plenty of those people. So again, if you follow this link down below, maybe Matt or Emma, one of you can put the link in chat.
In the chat.
Awesome, thank you. You can just fill out the form and it tells you, do you want them in person? Do you want them virtual? And what time of day and whatnot we need. We'll try and match you up with the right person. We've got a lot of people really excited about this from the industry and we want to start that. And our goal is that we will help you create relationships with people who can hopefully join your packs, come back to your classrooms, help out when you've got volunteer activities that are necessary and whatnot. Okay. And all right, so back to the scholarships. Again, February, we'll be launching the scholarships. Last year, we did launch our Pathway Awards as well. In fact, one of our speakers today was our Educator of the Year, Amy Rock. This year, these awards won't be coming until October, but in the summertime is when we're going to start recruiting to get nominations. So if you've got a student that you think is going to be an amazing asset in the industry, or you just want to encourage them to continue on their pathway, please submit them for the Future Builder of the Year Award. And then if you or a colleague of yourself, you can self-nominate, are interested in being Educator of the Year, or if there's an industry partner that you work with that you think is an amazing supporter of the future generation and workforce, we've got the Built Environment Hero Award as well. Okay. So that leads us to our MCCEI internship program. So this program is launching this summer. It is mainly in the Baltimore area, but we are expanding it as necessary to anywhere in the central Maryland area, so like Baltimore through DC, potentially Annapolis. We can expand it further to other parts of the state. It'll hinder a little bit on the field trips and whatnot that we're planning. So our goal for this is to bring high school, later high school juniors and seniors, as well as post-secondary students, not just college track. We want people that maybe are unemployed or underemployed to also get a chance at these internships for the summer. And they won't be working for MCCEI. They'll be working for construction and architecture and engineering firms as interns, paid interns, for that as well. So let's see what else. Obviously, the difference between our internship program and a regular one is that the students will have connections to people throughout the industry rather than just one company. They'll be making networks of peers as well as other companies that could potentially hire them. We also are working on a structure to this as well. I know we've heard from many companies, they hire interns and they don't know what to do with them. They have them make copies, get them coffee, that kind of stuff. And we have a structure to this where we've partnered with a group called iDisplay that will be helping us giving structure to the meetings, and the students will be learning soft skills as well as professional development skills like setting agendas, making meetings and whatnot. And there'll also be some innovation challenges as well through this. We're really excited about it. In addition to just going to the internship program, we'll have, like you said, a networking event at the beginning of the year. We'll have a couple field trips, hopefully to a construction site or a prefab center, as well as some sort of social event for the students as well. Like we said, you can have students, we'll have a link in the next slide, I believe, for students to send us their resumes. Emma on the call will do a first pass interview with them to kind of get an idea of what type of job they're interested in. And then we will be partnering them with companies to do the formal interview. And then MCCEI will be working as sort of like a case manager on this. We'll make sure the students are happy, that things are going well for both ends. And the actual hire date versus finish date is completely up to the student and the employer. But our kickoff will be June 20th of 2022. That is our goal for our big networking session in the beginning. So again, here's if you want to see the interest form here, we'll send this slide deck out to everybody afterwards as well. But this interest form is for students to fill out. So feel free to share this with your student population. Okay, and this is my contact information. And that is all I have for today. Do we have any questions before we move on to Skills USA? Anyway, I threw a lot of information at you very quickly. Okay. The next
Jen, I have a quick question because I'm also like, oh, for my kids. So for that opportunity, for the internship opportunity, do they need to be enrolled in a CTE program?
No. Well, okay. Honestly, we want anybody and everybody that's interested in careers in the built environment. We know not every school has a CTE program. I think this is so I think it would be a great opportunity for somebody who's interested in construction or architecture or engineering or anything, but doesn't have the option in school too. So no, they do not have to be. I will tell you, we talked to we just had a big industry call yesterday, and all they keep saying is passion for construction, passion for what they're doing, and a willingness to learn and adapt. That's all they really want. It's all very soft skills focused, because they figure they can teach them anything. So no prior industry experience is necessary at all.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. All right, I'll turn it over to you then, Chuck.
Thanks so much. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Awesome. So that was a perfect segue, Jen. Thank you so much. So I was going to talk about, and some of you may not be aware that with all of our programs of study through all of our clusters, we have career and technical student organizations that align to these programs. So if you're in construction, plumbing, or carpentry, or if you're in health science, nurse assisting, or manufacturing, or the list goes on in our programs, we have student organizations that would align. And in kind of springboarding off what Jen talked about with the meeting yesterday, we've had industry meetings through our clusters with lots of different players, industry partners, some of which are on the call today. And within the last couple of weeks, I met with, auto service technology business owners and instructors. Certainly talked with construction trades, companies, construction companies, architects. Big meeting yesterday. We've talked with a variety of folks, and it all gets back to the same basic needs, what they're looking for. The meeting yesterday that Jen had talked a little about, when we went from person to person and asked them what were the real important components, I highlighted some of the things that were just a common theme: good communication skills, good problem solving skills, creativity, excited about learning. Communication is key. Know what you don't know and not be afraid to ask questions, right? Soft skills, teamwork, conflict resolution, soft skills. So all the way through, this is, and I'll tell you, when you get into the world of construction trades and you talk to business owners, they're a lot more direct. They want people who can be on time, who can pass a drug test, who are going to be okay on the work site, and they'll teach them the rest, right? We'll train them and do everything else. Don't worry about it. And what I would say back is, what if you had that student that had the passion, that was interested in learning, that wanted to work well together in teams, could be a problem solver, and they had technical skill training as well, that they don't come to you without any prior skill. They've got a pretty solid foundation of knowledge, whether it's in their construction trade area like welding or carpentry or plumbing, or they've started to touch a little bit on project management and architecture and virtual design and things that we really know is needed for the industry. How important that would be, that they would be able to bring this all to the table. So one of the things I think that, because of this common theme, with all of our student organizations, the one that probably casts the biggest net, is the biggest tent, is one called Skills USA. Skills USA has about 350,000 members nationwide. Every state has an association, 2 territories, in a variety of programs, just like it is in Maryland. This year, the theme is United as One. They've gone through some real adjustments, as we all have, with COVID, with virtual learning. However, we're getting back into the in-person component. And a big part of that for students is getting ready for competitions, to be able to show their skills, do it in front of judges, be critiqued, and be able to possibly win a scholarship, prizes, have a chance to represent the state nationally, go against those other 50 states and 2 territories to show who's the best in the country, right? So it's exciting. That would make learning, I think, exciting for them, their education. And with Skills USA, I wanted to start with something pretty basic, and that's their mission statement. So let me read this to you. The Skills USA empowers its members to become world-class workers, leaders, and responsible American citizens. We improve the quality of our nation's future skilled workforce through the development of Skills USA framework skills that include personal, workplace, and technical skills grounded in academics. The vision is to produce the most highly skilled workforce in the world providing every member the opportunity for career success. Well, that's pretty straight on, pretty direct. And for a long time, and I've worked with Skills USA for years, it's a great mission. It's needed for our country. It's needed for the world. But it was really hard to try to encapsulate what Skills USA is, right? Because it was so diverse. It is so diverse. And so Skills USA has developed something they call the framework. And so this triangle, can you all see that? Thumbs up, good. So the framework it's included in this is personal skills, workplace skills, and technical skills rather than academics. So if you look at this and you look at the personal skill components, for example, there's 17 essential elements between these three areas, right? Integrity, work ethic, professionalism, responsibility, self-motivation, adaptability, flexibility. Well, who would want a new employee that would have these kinds of personal skills coming to you, coming to a business partner? Look at workplace skills, communication, teamwork, leadership, multicultural sensitivity and awareness, decision-making, planning, organizing, and management. And then you get into what our programs offer in Maryland and around the country in CTE, the technical skills, right? Computer and technology literacy, job-specific skills, whatever their trade area is or program, safety and health. We all want them to be OSHA certified, OSHA 10, service orientation, professional development. We all know that in the business of construction, it is constantly learning new techniques, new building, new ideas, so that hopefully our employees are out there learning and adjusting to be competitive in the world. That's what this is. So the reason I really talk about this is this student organization through a chapter and all these schools around the state. Right now we have 14 active chapters. Typically it's about twice that. So they're still growing right now. It's happening this time of year. And these are kids from all over the state. They are developing these skills. They are forming together, electing officers, forming committees, working on programs of work. And so they are really out there starting to practice some of what we know they're going to need when they graduate. And this is their chance to, maybe get it wrong a couple of times and be able to kind of perfect this. And this time of year in particular, we're just coming off the heels of the Fall Leadership Conference, which was virtual this year. Let me see if I can come back here, and I'm going to try to unshare. When I move from screen to screen, I should be able to bounce, right? That's my goal. Hold on just a second, make sure I can do this. Sure how I can get back to the other screen. I was going to show you that we had a fall leadership. It was a flyer I wanted to show you, but the flyer is really our student officers. So there are state officers in Maryland that are elected every year, and they plan and facilitate a fall conference. And the fall conference is really, this is their chance to start to share with students, to get them inspired about Skills USA, and to start delivering some of the content what the students are going to need. So we had officers that were actually doing sessions on SMART goals, doing sessions on proper communication, whether it's emails, phone messages, any way they're going to communicate now in the world, teamwork, how to work better as a team, and then understanding diversity, equity, inclusion. We had one of our officers doing that. So they were doing this virtually, and they were doing this statewide, and the students were delivering all the content. And they were doing it with Kahoots, games, Menti, other interactive ways that they could connect with the chapters. The chapters were actually in watch parties. So we had as many as 35 or 40 students in a school that were together in one of their media rooms with big screens. And they were actually doing icebreakers, doing some challenges, working with and against other teams, other chapters. And the students were leading all this. And so that's really, the real power of this is that we have the ability for students to really teach students. And they have to practice, they have to, get ready for it and get strong, but they are, they're capable of doing this. And I thought the officers did an amazing job, that they were able to deliver this content, do it in a fun way, keep the kids engaged from 9 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon. We had one of our officers doing grammar. So when she was going through her communication, training, she talked about proper grammar for emails. And she had, students working on actually physically putting together emails based on how they should look. And they had to like pre-cut all these pieces and put them all together. But this is something that it really is a big part of the student organization. And so really what I want to make sure that our chapters know and our teachers know is, and especially in construction, and that, these types of experiences for their students are invaluable when they start looking for jobs and they start applying. And they've worked on their resumes and their portfolios, and they have worked on interviewing skills, and they've led committees, and they have been, involved in some real leadership training and facilitation. And those are the kinds of things I know that we all hear over and over again. And so really what we're trying to do this year is to get as many students involved that we can. We've had as many as 6,000 and 7,000 student members. The numbers have really dropped off precipitously since COVID. But I think that we are able, hopefully we're coming back and we're going to be able to get started again. And I'm having trouble getting out of this screen, and I apologize. Just a minute here. There we go. Did I come out? Awesome. So yeah, so really my message, and I would obviously want to have some more teachers involved. I think some of the folks on this call know about this organization and the others. But I think now more than ever, I think maybe the real approach would be students get into this because they can compete. They can do really fun things. We talk about ACE mentoring in those projects. We talk about build challenges. There are robotics contests. There are all kinds of things that's attractive to students. The contests in Skills USA are really program and content aligned. So when I had this conversation earlier with someone from Geico, they're going to come in with Geico employees who are collision repair specialists, auto refinishing specialists. They're going to be critiquing and judging the students on how well they can do the job. And the hope would be, best case scenario, they're going to be hired when they graduate. At the very least, they're going to have professionals in the field telling them where they're strong, where they're weak, what they need to work on. Part of the contest is an exchange interview. So they have to be able to communicate well with these folks. And, these are the kinds of experiences that students really need. So that's always been my push. That will continue to be my push. We have, our programs are co-curricular. There is federal money that's available to help support these chapters now, so that it doesn't have to be a financial burden. They're not expensive anyway to be involved. And it's really something I think is once the students get into this and they take ownership, and the advisor has really becomes the mentor and not the parent running everything. But once they can sit back and just really let the students be the leaders, that's when it gets really good. That's when it's exciting. Now that I'm gonna daringly share my screen again, just because I want you to see. Can you guys see this? Do you see the officers?
Yeah.
Awesome. So that's our team this year. And this is our team of 4, various walks of academic life and CTE world. This is a small team. Typically there are 8 students that do this. This is our 4-member powerhouse right now, but these are their breakout sessions. So from the beginning to the end, from the opening ceremony till the last student was recognized at the award ceremony, these students led the entire thing. And I think that's, that's powerful. And the students that were receiving this were very receptive to being, led by students, having workshops by students, having students know the kinds of things that will engage students, especially virtually. And so they were integrating a lot of activity. I was afraid of all the moving parts and how that would go, but they really handle it very well because this is what they do. So they were able to really get it right. So that's what I wanted to share. That was my main message. And do you guys have any questions or comments about that, about our organizations, or anything else for that matter? Anyone? Okay, I'm going to turn it back over. I'm having such trouble with this. I apologize. Thanks.
I got it. You're good.
Awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. So I see Jen's back, but next up we're going to do Built by Baltimore, Karen Holland, and Carver House's Mike Rosenband, and they are going to be sharing new exciting things going on there.
Let me just share my screen now. Okay. All right, can you see?
Yep, you're golden.
Awesome. All right, well, thanks so much to you all. We're very excited to talk about Built by Baltimore and the opportunities for high school students and high school leavers. And a lot of things I'm going to cover actually ties in very well with what Chuck was saying. So that will be great. So this obviously is not new to any of you. We just do not have the skilled construction workforce necessary. And the problem's getting worse. And I think there's kind of two problems there. Number one, it's difficult getting people into construction careers. It's difficult getting certain demographics of people into construction careers. It's great to see that Jen's and MCCEI's goal is all about getting more females and more women into construction. That's very much what we're doing as well. And the other, I think, other issue is that there's actually a huge underrepresented workforce that might be interested in coming in and having a career in construction, but just don't always know how to navigate that. And of course, through the work MCCEI and others doing, I think we're bridging that gap, but that's still an issue out there. So what is Built by Baltimore? It's a workforce development program that focuses, that should really say 16 to 24-year-olds. And you'll see this in a minute. Our pilot was with a younger cohort of students. But importantly, it's a paid program. It's up to 6 months, fully paid, starting on day one. And it's it is above minimum wage as well. So it's full-time, and it's for those who have left the educational system. And what does the program actually provide? It's really a pre-apprenticeship style program that focuses on crafts, but goes above that. So as well as teaching basics around MEP, on carpentry, it also wants to give more holistic training. So Chuck mentioned problem solving, communication skills, all those other skills that are really important for a career in construction. Learning about digitalization, construction manufacturing, robotics, automation, all those things that are really aligned with the future of construction. Those are things that are tied into our curriculum, and I'll go into the curriculum in a bit. As I mentioned, they are getting paid from day one because they're actually working from day one. This is an applied learning program where trainees will be touching and building on components that are contributing to local construction projects across the city. Obviously, Built by Baltimore has a focus on Baltimore, but we're hoping to scale this as the program grows. And importantly, yes, we have a curriculum that we are adapting to various projects. We are hoping that our students eventually will get OSHA, as well as complete summer MCCR modules. But more importantly, we want them to launch their career. We want them to use the Built by program as a platform or a stepping stone for them to figure out exactly what they want to do in construction. And then we would help them identify aligned careers, whether it is more on the job learning, whether it is an employer who will support them through an apprenticeship program, whether or not it's union or non-union. We're very agnostic in that regard. Maybe they want to go to college, but we really help them figure that out. And then we're actually partnering with MCCEI from a professional case management services where we'll track them for up to 3 years once they leave the program as well. So I should have said from the beginning, MCCEI has been phenomenal with us launching this program. I don't think we would have been anywhere as far as we are without their help. So thank you to Jen and to Emma and to Matt for all your help. Okay, so that is the program and its concept, I know there's a lot of words on this slide, and I will talk more about the various components, but please, if you have any questions throughout, just let me know. I want this to obviously be as helpful as possible to you all and make as much sense from the get-go. So where are we now and how did we get there? So we actually launched this program, I think, about a month before COVID. So it's been a very interesting timeline getting this up and running in this new world that we're all living in. But actually, we were very lucky in the fact that we were able to do a lot of the pre-planning work to get us to where we were now over Zoom and all those wonderful other virtual platforms that we've come to love. But really, starting in, gosh, almost 2 years ago, I guess now, we wanted to define the problem. This model has evolved multiple times over the last 2 years, but we wanted to do a deep engagement with the Baltimore community, whether it is local community leaders, to understand some of the issues and the barriers to entry to a career in construction, working with the private entities and the AEC supply chain, working with high school teachers, such as many of yourselves. MSD have been phenomenal in helping us shape the program, and then developing the curriculum as we go, and then building the concept. We also have actually run this curriculum with an existing workforce. So it was great that we had a curriculum that we could actually take that was used for upskilling the existing workforce and using it for the new workforce. And again, I'll show you the curriculum in a bit. And then thanks for some funding from MSD, we're actually able to pilot it over the summer. And I'll give you plenty more slides on what that pilot looked like. So we had 4 trainees who were paid throughout the summer to work for us. And they actually were developing a high performance door, which will be installed in Carver House. And Mike can talk about that more in a minute. So where we are now is that we've completed this pilot and we're looking to scale the program. Okay, any questions so far before I talk about the pilot? Okay, so I should have mentioned this in a previous slide. The program seeks to remove barriers to entry. So we talked obviously about being paid from day one. Oftentimes some people can't afford to train, and training replacing employment. So we want to make sure, regardless of whether they're doing the majority is applied learning, but if they do have to do 1 or 2 hours of classroom learning, they're still being paid that $15 per hour. Eventually, we want to get to a space where everything is being done at a single location, preferably in a conditioned space. So taking that shift towards prefabrication and even industrialized construction. And the reason for that is that, if you have dependent care issues, if you have transportation issues, or other issues that make it difficult to have that traditional model where you travel from place to place every day, we want to eliminate those. And so our pilot this summer was at a makerspace called OpenWorks. If you're not familiar with OpenWorks, it's in Baltimore City. It is pretty accessible, with a big caveat. We found that even though we were naive and thought it was accessible because it had 3 bus routes going near it, it was not too far from Penn Station and the Metro line, we still had a lot of issues with transportation. But we did select that location for its location, as well as, unfortunately for them, but I guess fortunately for us, they were just ramping up after COVID. So there was some space available for us. Oftentimes we could use the workspace uninterrupted, etc. So you can see there our partnerships with Recruity, who we'll talk about Carver House in a bit, J. Neal Design, and Timmy, who works with Recruity but also works at MICA. So we had a good diverse team. Our trainees were a little bit younger. They were high school age students, and that was fine. But we wanted to test, the curriculum mainly, and it was, a summer pilot. So they were able to come to us. 3 of the students were employed through YouthWorks, and one, Madison, actually graduated from high school, and she was paid independently. But we all follow that model of the $15 per hour. And we had a female. We actually had multiple applications from females, but we'd already filled the spot. But we're glad to have at least, I guess, 25% out of 4 students. But we really were able to at least have one female, which is great. The trainees worked a little bit fewer hours than what we're looking at in a shorter time frame, but again, that was purposeful for us to really kind of go about the curriculum and see what we learned and tweak it, give us time outside of the actual training period for us to regroup, check and adjust the curriculum as we went along. Okay, so pilot goals, I've talked about those, but really testing our curriculum, understanding the benefits of paid training, making sure that that was, obviously it's a benefit, but seeing, you know, how that worked out. A better grasp of extent of support services needed for the full program. That was very important. We actually did not, our full program has wraparound services, both from a professional case management aspect, but also wraparound services as well, which we did not have this summer. And I think we would have benefited from actually incorporating that into the program. And Mike, actually I should say, Mike, please chime in as you see fit.
Great, yeah.
Very much involved in this over the summer. Expand outreach and partnerships, and you'll see we have a slide on really how, you know, OpenWorks was a great space. We were shameless and, you know, kept on asking members and others visiting the space whether they could come and talk to our students and introduce our students to other people. So that was great. And then just generate excitement for the program, both obviously from an industry perspective, but also from a student perspective. We'll talk about this in a minute. Every single one of those students want to come back and join the program in some capacity. I saw Mike the other day, I was like, they're all texting me all the time. It's great. We have the text chain going on. I can check in on them. 3 of the 4 students are back at school. One's she's actually at college now. But we have that support system. We have that camaraderie. And we really want to keep that. It's not a one and done affair. It's really, we want to continue that relationship with our students. Mike, do you have anything to add to that?
I don't think at this point. You're doing great. I'm enjoying it.
Bringing back fun memories of summer.
Yes.
It was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun. The students were phenomenal. Actually, here they are. So we had a really good range of students from different high schools across the city. Actually, that was probably another lessons learned. We had, I think, students from all 4 corners of the city. But in hindsight, we maybe should have focused more on people or students being in a similar location, again, just from a transportation issue. Damani was in a carpentry program, a CTE program. And then Wesley was in a CTE design program, I think. Mike, is that right? He's at, or he wasn't it?
I think it was more art focused.
It was Madison. I'm sorry. Madison did, she was also in a CTE program. But they had various exposure to actually, applied learning. Even Damani, who was at Carver because of COVID and other reasons, didn't actually spend that much time in a workshop. We actually had to spend a long time. The students had never held a drill before, so teaching them basic drilling techniques. That was kind of the level we started, and after 6 weeks, you'll see in a minute how the independent work, we could send them into the wood shop and they could use most of the equipment there. They could plane wood, they could cut wood. They were very, very comfortable with the various equipment there, and were very proactive in using it. So it was really great to see. Okay, this slide is hideous. It's meant to be hideous because this is what we covered in 6 weeks. As I said, it was a busy 6 weeks, but again, the focus was on learning a craft, but also all the other things that are essential in a construction career. So technology was a huge part of what we did. Manufacturing, we spent a lot of time in the wood shop, and again, I'll kind of give you a breakdown of what we did. Craft, and then field trips. Field trips were really important to us, and we'll talk about those in a bit, but really to see what good looks like, and also the differences between working in the field and working in a conditioned space. But yeah, I'm not going to read through. We'll be here till midnight if I read through every single one of those boxes, but you can see how we started in week 1, very basic skills, learning how to hold a drill, learning about a table saw, to really kind of building our way up to when we got to the end of the program where smart construction, they were just some of the skills they learned and mastered was really, I think, quite impressive. Digital fabrication skills, design skills, construction skills, and then yeah, beyond the program, we really want to make sure that they could see what the different pathways were into construction. Okay, so I'm going to break down a little bit what that slide said in more visual dimensions for you all, just to give you some ideas on what what the students learned. So we talked about industrialized construction and lean manufacturing. Do you all know what I'm talking about when I use those words? I can see some nodding, but I can't see you all. Please speak up if you don't. So industrialized construction is really kind of taking manufacturing principles and applying them to the construction space, which again kind of goes with our model of working in a conditioned space. And then lean manufacturing is all around, well, the way I teach lean manufacturing, which might be different to others, it's all around increasing productivity and effectiveness, but doing it in a very respectful way. So instead of us having one student work on the same thing 8 hours a day, for 6 weeks, it's really kind of adding value to them and their learning, and just really, working with them as a team to make sure that we are increasing, effectiveness. So for example, you can see here, we developed skill matrices to see where we had to work on who had what skill at what point, and how we could increase those. It wasn't a showdown that some people had more green stickies than others, but it was really, well, we need to focus on that skill with that person versus another person. A lot of visual management, again, that's kind of lean thinking and making things visible, making problems visible. If we don't know about a problem, we can't solve it. So again, we had that real teamwork attitude. And I think Mike will probably agree with me. What was funny, you can imagine it's probably like a school. The first day we had 2 camps, 2 kids on one side and 2 kids on the other. And this is the way, friendship groups work. But by the end, we really tried, mixing and matching teams when we were doing stuff. And by the end of it, the 4 of them were, really, really close and worked very well as with each other, which was great to see. So yeah, a lot of visual management, a lot of talk about logistics and process flow, and just really trying to improve, the workplace environment. So learning by doing, we probably spent about equal time in the design lab. So actually learning about virtual design, learning about design for manufacturing and assembly, learning actual craft skills in the carpentry skills in the wood workshop, and then spending time in the digital fabrication lab. So what was great, OpenWorks has fantastic access to CNC machines. So the students were able to learn about operating a CNC machine, basic automation, etc. They actually helped design some aspects of the door, or I guess verify some aspects of the door. But we actually asked them some questions here. This is Ellie, who came up with an improvement for the door design, which was fantastic. We were blown away. We were just like, how can a 17-year-old come up with these ideas? But he was fantastic. And then actually transfer that data to talk to the CNC machine. So that's the kind of learning they were doing. And again, going back to, they were learning a lot with their hands as well. Enhanced learning with guest speakers. Again, I mentioned we were shameless. They had a contract manufacturing group at OpenWorks where they were actually building things and selling things. So we participated in some of their meetings, the daily huddles. We then held daily huddles or daily meetings to map out, what we were going to do each day. And at the end of the day, we had debrief meetings to see what we'd done that day, if any issues had arisen, etc. And then we actually asked the kids eventually to run those meetings as well. Morgan was minding his own business in the workshop, building on something, and we figured, well, we found out more about what he was doing there and where he was from. He did a fantastic lecture on advanced materials and the different types of woods and which type of wood you need for a door versus building something else. So that was fantastic. And then field trips. Field trips were important as part of the work. These are the students selecting wood for our doors. And we didn't really do it on purpose, but it was a 96-degree day and with 3,000-degree humidity. And it was great learning for them. It was like, this is what it's like working in a construction site. You guys complain about working indoors and wearing masks, but that's a 70 degrees conditioned room. But we also showed the importance of supply chain management, why it's important to actually go out in the field and learn those skills as well. And then I'm not sure if you're familiar with Blueprint Robotics. They are a construction manufacturing entity. Very, they do panelized panels for homes, but they're very, very big on, as the name implies, robotics and automation, technology. And so we took the students there for a site visit, and I think that kind of blew their minds what was possible in the construction space, which was fantastic. And then this is us. One of the students had to leave a little bit early, so we couldn't get him in the photo, but we really wanted to make sure that we had a closing ceremony. These kids worked so hard over those 6 weeks that we wanted to really recognize them. So they were laughing because they were like, "This is Miss Karen, this is like a graduation ceremony from school." And I'm like, exactly, that's what it is. And we want to recognize you for what you've done. So again, as I mentioned, we started off with them, having to do quite a lot of hand holding, but at the end, they were real true team members. Their confidence, all these students, their confidence at the beginning was, they were varying degree of confidence. A couple of them were much more confident than others. But I just remember, for example, Wesley, the first day, he was so nervous using some of the machines that he was really struggling. And then by the end of it, he was so confident and so just, could go out and so precise in his work as well. He was extremely talented artist and was very, very, very precise with detail. So it was really great to see. And then again, highlighting teamwork and working together and all the rest of it, and recognizing good work as well. So trainee feedback, it was the sweetest thing. I think they really became, team members and part of the project, and they really, I think, got a lot from it and wanted to learn more at home. So this here is Ellie. One evening, spent 4 hours taking measurements of all the doors in his apartment with his dad, and came the next morning with us. I was like, Ellie, it's a summer vacation for you. What are you doing? I obviously didn't say that. I was just, it was like I had a tear in my eye that he actually spent that time from what he learned and applied it and figured out how his doors were working in his apartment. And then obviously, a huge portion of the pilot was getting feedback from the students. We're trying to, we need they're our main customers for this. And so it was great to see. We're still waiting on feedback from one or two of the students, but this is, the example we got, and it was great that they really liked the hands-on learning. See, the student who completed this, he was debating whether to go to summer school for math or join the program. And I promised him that there would be plenty of math in this program, just, a different type of math, so fractions, obviously, and measurements and all the rest of it. And it was just nice. I mean, everyone said again that they want to come back and, learn and be part of the team moving forward, which was great. Okay, so lessons learned, I've almost finished. I know I'm doing a lot of talking. So again, please ask if you have any questions. So what went well? The curriculum, I think, worked well. They definitely had broad exposure to the various aspects of construction, and it was adaptable to different competency levels. We had, I think, skill levels were different. Academically, the kids were different and had different strengths and weaknesses. And we made sure that no one got left behind. And, where someone needed a little bit more help in one aspect, that we would provide that help, but do it in a very, discreet way and not calling anyone out. But we wanted to make sure that everyone picked up on those skills at the same time. We felt that the depth of learning, hopefully you'll agree, sorry, the CT programs are fantastic, but just the way, being able to work full time in a kind of an active space really provided that more, in-depth learning. And the applied learning model was really great as well. Again, Mike and I learned very quickly that, although we kept on saying it's applied learning, the first 2 weeks, we really are going to do some classroom learning. And then when 2 of the 4 students fell asleep after lunch, and especially when we had one of our guest lectures, and I was like kicking them under the table to wake them up, we realized, okay, we're dropping all time in the conference room. This is not working. Working as a team created empathy and peer-to-peer mentoring. It was great to see that actually some of the students, at the end, I think, Mike, they all would go to each other for advice on how to do stuff instead of coming to us, which I guess in some respects was great, but kind of made us feel a little bit irrelevant at that time. But it was really great, and they were really empathetic to each other. There was no like, oh gosh, you haven't picked this up already. It was really like, let me help you, and and see how how to do better. I'm very proud of this. I know people were concerned us going into the program that, oh, you're going to let a bunch of teenagers with a bunch of heavy equipment. It's like, well, yeah, but we're going to be safe. And that's not true. Madison got a blister the last day and I was freaking out. And again, it's like, Miss Karen, it's a blister. I'm like, I do not want any accidents under my supervision. So that was great. And then all the trainees completed the program in full and again, asked to come back. We had some problems with absenteeism. We had problems with tardiness. We'll get to that in a minute, but we were really proud that they all stuck to the 6 weeks. And I think that enthusiasm kept on increasing versus them being like, oh gosh, when is this program going to finish, which was great. Industry connection and awareness, very much tied to what I think everyone on the call is looking for. Making sure as we went that we connected the students as much as possible wherever we went. So we talked about Blueprint Robotics, we talk about the US Forestry Service, having Timmy, who worked at MICA, one of our students would like to potentially go to MICA. So we're like, great, here, we can connect you to the admissions office, at least know, what you need to do and how you can prepare for that. There was a drone company that occupied OpenWorks while we're there. One of the kids wants to become an engineer, so it was great to connect him and have that conversation. And then again, working that kind of shared space, there was a lot of people there. Mayor Scott showed up one day, and again, we were shameless in getting in front of him. And then Brick and Board. If you're not familiar with Brick and Board, they have a lot of urban wood that comes from existing housing stock in the city, and then sell wood to projects like ours. Lessons learned, and Mike, again, disagree with me if you don't agree, but the door was a bit too complex for this level of learning. Especially, we wanted this high performance door, and Mike can talk more about some of the goals for Carver House and being a passive house project. It meant the door had a lot of different components and different parameters, making it difficult. We talked about this when we had kids falling asleep on us. So us shifting very much to learn by doing. Absenteeism and tardiness was a big issue. I really wish we did have wraparound services from the get-go, because I didn't feel comfortable asking some questions or offering. I am just not trained that way, and I think Mike probably felt the same way. Transportation was an issue. Mike and I spent a lot of time driving people back and forth, which is completely fine, but that's not the aim of the program. The aim of the program is to help come up with actual real solutions, not wrap band-aids for that. And again, as I said, we did have problems with people not showing up, but I will say those students really did pleasantly surprise us. So after a couple of weeks, we had to sit them down and say it's not fair. One student in particular, we had some issues with absenteeism, and they were all being paid the same amount. It wasn't fair that this person was getting paid and then missing 8 hours a week or 4 hours a week or whatever. And so we came up with a policy that either we dock pay or they make up time. And those students all made up that time, and they were very willing to do so. And in fact, this one person, I remember I was actually not there on the Friday, but I think Mike was, when he was there for like 8 or 10 hours, and he was like, it was like a kind of a rite of passage on the Monday morning. All the other students like, what? You were there on Friday? You're not supposed to be working on a Friday, and you were there for like 10 hours? What were you doing? And the student was like, yeah, it was so cool. We did this and that. And I was like, oh gosh, you're again, dedicated, but also, I actually gave him a job reference from an evening and weekend job. And this lady it was, I mean, not funny, but it was for TK Maxx. And I literally talked this woman's ear off for 15 minutes about how wonderful this kid was. She's like, wow, he's overqualified for this job. And I'm like, no, he's just, I feel like Mike and I and others got to know him really personally, and he was a great attribute. OpenWorks was great, but we outgrew that space very rapidly. We have little studios, and then we have access to shared workshop space. It became, although with COVID and then reopening, it was quite unusual. We outgrew that space really quickly. And then the payment structure. So we had 3 students with YouthWorks, and then we had 1 student outside of YouthWorks. We had some issues because of the way the structure of payment is with YouthWorks, they didn't, it was $15 gross, whereas we were paying our 4 student $15 net. And we were like, oh, they're never going to know. It took them 2 hours to figure that out. And then we did have some issues up front with YouthWorks paying on time. It was no one's fault. It was just the way that things were set up and miscommunication and all the rest of it. So 3 of the students did not get paid for the first 4 weeks until they only got paid after 4 weeks. And that did not bode well with all the issues we were trying to address. And now we're making, Baltimore City students work, and they're effectively working for free, which kind of went against our model. So once we sorted that out, we had a really good debrief session with YouthWorks. I just don't think that's going to happen again. But that was, I think, a good lesson learned. Okay, I promise you, this is, I think, the last slides or penultimate slide. So where are we going next? We're obviously hoping to replicate the program. So at the moment, we're looking at multi-project owners, large owners, and actually some small owners as well to replicate the model on projects. So we're working with the project owner and GC to customize and deliver the project, and then bring on cohorts. Same thing, embed trainees and the applied learning on the project. Refining the curriculum as we go. Again, the pilot was 6 weeks. We're looking to expand the program to 3 to 6 months. We're looking for formal certification, which is aligned with NCCER and also aligned with apprenticeships from the Union ABC perspective. We've actually formed a very recent partnership with a national entity called the Advanced Building Construction Collaborative, who also like to be known as ABC. And I keep on telling them there are so many ABCs out there, between ABC from a construction standpoint, between Associated Black Charities and another 15,000. So, but anyway, ABCC, it's actually funded by the Rocky Mountain Institute, or RMI. That's, if you don't know who RMI is, they have a focus on decarbonization and decarbonization around buildings. And so this partnership's all around, increase decarbonization of buildings, making buildings more sustainable, et cetera. And they're actually hoping that we could be the local partner for implementing their national goals, which is great. And then, we just want to keep on growing and growing with the project as we go. And so we're excited to keep on going. And thank you. I feel like I've been talking for a very long time. So thank you for your attention. And I'd love to answer any questions. And Mike can talk a little bit more about Carver House specifically.
Great. Karen, that was terrific. Michael Rosenband, I had the pleasure of working with Karen summer on that particular project. And the focus of it was a door. It was for the Carver House. I'd like to spend a little bit of time to talk about what the Carver House is, how we got to the Carver House. I'm based in Baltimore. I had a business career and transitioned. I wanted to apply my business background to education. And so roundabout way, I became the baseball coach at Carver Vocational Technical High School. And when I sat down with the athletic director, he said, the field's 2 miles away. We have no transportation for you. We don't have a budget. And by and large, kids are playing football and basketball and don't play baseball anymore. I said, okay, sounds like a wonderful opportunity to engage the students to help solve some of these challenges. So I said, I'll take this job as long as I can engage the students and figure out how we solve some of these challenges. And so it was an incredible 10-week experience where students were really self-actualized. And I realized in just 10 weeks that if students are excited about what they're focused on and they're provided with the right tools and resources, they can really self-actualize and maximize their potential and see what's beyond their current day-to-day. So when the season ended, one of our captains said, this is wonderful, Coach Mike. We figured out how to buy a 15-passenger van to get us to the field, and we addressed our resource challenges. But I'm in carpentry, and my buddies who've taken carpentry aren't particularly getting jobs. And yet every single day we walk past the block directly across the street from school where there are 15 houses and 5 of them are vacant and dilapidating. And we said, okay, let's see if we can't figure out how to create this as a real opportunity, a real working project-based learning opportunity where we are engaging with our curriculums to renovate these vacant houses across the street. And so with that, we created an organization, Requity, that was referenced to do just that. And so we are working with Baltimore City Public Schools, Carver, Vocational Technical High School, with the construction trades to renovate a vacant house across the street. Initially, we have site control of one house, and it's a wonderful opportunity in terms of for it being interdisciplinary. Construction aided design now understands what they're doing from an architecture and design standpoint and how that ties into what's happening in construction or what's happening in masonry. And so we are really working to align the work-based learning and the different milestones to complement what's being taught during the course of a school year, with ultimately the completion of a renovated row home. And we're also trying to be really smart about doing that. Karen mentioned Timmy Aziz, who works at MICA. And so we're also trying to, in addition to attacking blight, we want to be smart about how we're renovating homes. So we're teaching high performance building construction, which addresses climate. This kind of construction reduces carbon emissions by about 90%, and which is a big deal because in the built environment, about 45% of all emissions come from building construction of buildings and the operation of buildings. And there's also an affordability component to what we're doing as utility bills go down about 90%. So in looking for an ideal project this summer, we realized that that we need high performance doors as part of high performance construction. And so we were able to design and build a high performance door. Ideally, this was just one prototype, but we would like to address a need in the marketplace for it and actually take this high performance door to market while also training a workforce in high performance construction. And the hope is that with real project-based learning, students get excited, just as they did in the baseball project, with their curriculum and it's able to connect what they're learning in the classroom to the real world. And so growing up, I didn't necessarily know what soft skills were, but the things, Chuck, you were talking about, being able to communicate, problem solve, soft skill, is that it becomes a byproduct when kids or students are engaged in meaningful work. So that's what we're focused on at the Carver House. I'd like to share with you a video. It's a 2-minute video that just sort of captures this. It's again more my voice. I wish Chuck could narrate it, but anyway, it captures what we're doing.
Carver is the nation's third oldest historic.
I think you need to unmute your.
Directly across the street from Carver,
So I'll just go back a little bit.
having produced skilled tradespeople since 1925. Directly across the street from Carver are 15 homes, 5 of which sit vacant. This is an ideal opportunity for our community to help us transform our neighborhood.
And walk across the street and you just see these buildings, like, and why not utilize our trades to fix them up? Like, we're learning the skills. While we learn the skills, we could better our community. That's all I thought about. And it took a couple of years, but each step by step getting there.
Sterling Hardy's point was a home run. It was clear that there were many benefits if we could only follow his advice. The unmet needs of the neighborhood are the rationale and the driver of this project. If vacant row homes could be used as learning tools and as a community catalyst, they would no longer be vacant, and other changes can be brought about in the neighborhood. With the help of an amazing team of partners, we are ready to begin. We have site control of a vacant row home directly across the street from Carver. We've begun teaching students. We'll begin energy efficient passive house construction course in a few weeks. We are preparing to offer internships at the row home renovation this summer. We will hand over this home to a partner community land trust to steward it as a permanently affordable home. Next year, we will repeat our process, training a new cohort of students and making more energy efficient affordable homes. But we need your involvement and help to make this dynamic project, which has many components, from teaching to building to community outreach, neighborhood beautification, and transformation, to become a reality.
Hello,
I'm Michael Rosenband.
Hi, my name is Sterling Hardy.
My name is Mark Stoffer.
I am Monica Bradley.
So hopefully that just gives you a sense of what we're doing in a tight way. But we're excited about it. It seems to really be resonating. Students have already not only contributed to the door, which I'll show you quickly what that looks like, the end product. It was pretty, it is a learning process. You try to figure out what makes the most sense, where to intersect students, where their learning points are. But we think this reality work-based learning is, or has been really effective in complementing and augmenting what's being taught in the classroom. And so hopefully this one house will be the first of many, and we'll figure out a framework for doing more. So.
Awesome. Mike, I want to let you know there's a group, and I think Karen knows him, Jason Williams. You know Jason from Mason-Dixon. So his group, Modern Builders, I guess, is going to be building, turning row homes into passive houses. I don't know if you've met him yet.
Yeah, I just connected with him on LinkedIn.
Okay, good. Because yeah, I mentioned
so,
you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, they're doing, I think, five homes just on the other side of the block. And how wonderful would it be if, at a minimum, Baltimore City Public Schools vocational program, or it's a pathway for those students to assist and do that work.
Absolutely. Okay, good. I just want to make sure you met him. Awesome.
But I can use another introduction if you
send an email.
Hey, Mike, I had a question about the project. So I know Karen had mentioned Blueprint Robotics, which is, if you've never been there, it is amazing. It's amazing how they've transformed. I mean, the construction world, manufacturing world have kind of come together, and it's one of the big, for folks in the industry, a safe working environment year round is pretty, paramount. And they can work indoors, and it's not high on scaffolding, and it's great. I thought I heard somewhere along the way that the Carver House was actually going to be implementing some of the manufacturing aspect. Are you all actually designing like prototype floors or walls or something? Not as elaborate as Blueprint, but similar idea.
Yeah. So I think that. So the passive house framing is a bit different. You have a service wall, which you typically have, and then there's a 10-inch, 10-inch wall. And so when you walk into Mr. McDevitt's carpentry class, you can see the framing and the mock-ups of the typical framework. And so the hope is that we'll be able to figure out how to do that kind of framing in the classroom and then apply it across the street. So again, but this is, we're trying to be entrepreneurial in this too, and also always have an eye on commerce. And if there's a way Built by Baltimore to potentially do this in another site, to migrate it, once we figured out how to do it.
No, it's a great idea. And I worked with Greg for years. I mean, he's been a pretty dedicated teacher for a long time. And and it's funny because Carver actually is a Skills USA chapter. In fact, I think Carver was the first Maryland chapter of then VICA, which was the Vocational Industrial Clubs of America. I think back in 1970, maybe 1971. Wow. Nationally, VICA started, which is now Skills USA. VICA started in 1965. So I think Carver became like the first school in the state, which is kind of cool, right?
Yeah, that's really neat.
Yeah. And they still have an active chapter. This year, they've got an active chapter. So there's a lot of history there as well. But this is, you can see what inspires kids, which is getting out there and doing it. And you're right. All of these, what we're calling soft skills, which are pretty important, they all come as a byproduct. They all come because they're so engaged and engrossed in the project. They have to communicate better. They have to get their message across. They have to be able to work together in teams. So it's perfect. So I appreciate you showing that.
Thanks. Thank you, Chuck.
All right, if we don't have any other questions, thank you.
I just have a kudos. I'm so excited about that project. I think that's absolutely fantastic, and that's exactly the thing that brings together community. It's not just the impacting the students, it's taking us out of the educational bubble and putting us out into the community where we can do good and we can showcase students and showcase their abilities at the same time as making improvements and being good community partners. So yay. Great job. Great Great project.
Awesome. Agree. All right. Oh, Val's got a raised hand. Go ahead.
Yes, hi. I'm just curious, what curriculum did you use, and are you adapting this for something that we could look into for perhaps using in the youth apprenticeship programs? And then my second question is about transportation. We know that that is some of the biggest barrier really for students accessing our work-based learning programs. What opportunities do you have to transport the students back and forth in the upcoming iterations of what you're doing?
Is this question for Built by Baltimore? Karen?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's a great question. We actually now in our, all our new applications for grant funding, we have a very clear line item for transportation, whether it is, as Mike did, buying a minivan or a minibus or whatever that might look like. But also, so we are shifting a little bit to, project by project approach. So say we have a large construction site, so a Hopkins capital project, for example, we would want to bring on people who are local to that job site. And what we're hoping to have is 3 or 4 concurrent projects where people can get to relatively easily versus having to cross town. So that's the transportation issue. We really learned so much over the summer about that, and we're trying to figure out what, those kind of 2 or 3 different models that we can address that. From the curriculum perspective, we want to make sure that last thing we want to do is completely invent something that's not related to any existing curriculum out there. So we have like a detailed curriculum with the models that we cover, and for each one we try tying it back to, does this tie back to an existing CTE program? We have NCCER core and NCCER technology. Oh, what's it called? Sorry, I've got a complete brain freeze. Construction
technology. That's it.
Tying it back to how that, tying those back to those models as well. And we are talking to various certification bodies for NCCR so that we can make sure that either we provide the whole syllabus, or that we partner with those entities that we cover some and others cover the other modules as well. And so I don't know if that answers your question, Valerie. That we do, we have our modules are really focused on all those different components we showed, but we want to make sure that we are aligned with what's out there already, and we're reinforcing what's out there already, but with more of that focus on construction, industrialized construction.
And I just want to throw this out there, and this is for MSDE and for MCCEI. That transportation issue is so big, so that when we are offering internships to students, looking at their transportation, if we're looking at equity, what are we doing to provide for students without? And while it's great that we can pay them and they can work with various companies, we really do need to figure out that really important part of how to get them there.
Agreed. I can't remember who I was talking to recently, but apparently there are things like the Lyft grant, which would literally pay for an Uber or a Lyft for a student to get back and forth to work. There's also things like we were talking, Karen, I don't remember who it was we were talking to, but they were suggesting that we also pair these students up with a bank so that they're not losing a third of their paycheck to a check cashing place. So there's lots more than just giving someone a job. I completely agree to making sure that there's real clear pathways to careers in the built environment for these students.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, actually, because what we ended up doing, but we hadn't budgeted for, we actually ended up, I remember one of the students is phoning us up in a fluster because she spent, an hour in the bus and she was nowhere near Openworks, and we said just jump in a lift and we'll cover the costs. And she, it was very sweet. She's like, no one has ever done that before. She's worked for large large national corporations. And I say, the one thing that Mike, disagree if you don't agree, but we didn't really set parameters, and then people like, oh, we can start taking lifts, and then these folks are going to pay for it. So we should have really, I think what we didn't make it very clear that was a one-off, because the poor person was so flustered. But again, that's something that it was a good lesson learned for us. One person in particular was like, great, I'm now gonna use that service as much as I can. But at the same time, we wanted that person, there's no point him spending 4 hours getting somewhere to do 6 hours of work. We want them, and also, by the time they spend 2 hours getting there, they're frustrated, they're anxious, they're worried. The person who was late that first time was so upset with themselves that they were, late for a job. And we all understood what it was like, but it doesn't start. It's not a good start to your day when you're actively learning, and you're doing so many things that you're already in a flustered state of mind. So I think that was our biggest. That and absenteeism or tardiness associated with transportation were our biggest.
It probably doesn't help when every time you hear a business partner talk, you have to get there on time and get there early. It's that's it's like a non-negotiable, right? You've got to be at the job site, you got to be there on time, you got to be there working. And
so MCCEI, as you're thinking about these internships, if you can pair that funding also with a Lyft grant or an Uber grant, we don't authorize that. And I guess, you're on your own with that. We have to use approved taxi cabs, and we, it's like $80 a day for students to go back and forth to work. So it gets expensive, but great opportunities. I'm really excited about it. We just need to make sure that, the students who are without, in particular, are getting these chances, because they're probably the same ones that never could make it into the magnet program because they couldn't get to that magnet school as well, but they really are passionate about the industry.
Agreed. Thanks for that, Val.
I'm assuming that the Carver house, Mike, those kids can literally walk to the site and work.
Yeah, I mean, that was
a take. Awesome. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. I mean, that
for now,
we can't have it that way every time, but that one worked out pretty nice.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, we've got Amy Rock, who's gonna finalize. And I know we went a little over on time, so Amy, I hope we're able to squeeze you in for half an hour. I apologize, but to talk about all the awesome stuff you're doing at PG County.
I'm a fast talker.
Oh wait, we have an hour. Never mind. We have an hour.
We can still do it in half an hour.
Okay.
Because these poor teachers, bless y'all. I love you all, my teachers out there who are in the classrooms every day. And right now school's hard. Okay, right now school is hard. So my first thing before I show any slide at all is I want to say to you who are sitting here after a full day of work in the classroom with your kids, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for the work that you do with kids every day, and taking this of your own time to listen to us about some opportunities for your kids. So great appreciation to you for that. I have a bazillion slides just because I love pictures of my kids. Because they are the reason we do what we do. So there's not a whole lot of words on them, but lots of pictures because my kids are awesome. And I want to be able to share with you kind of some of the great things that they do and that we do in Prince George's County that people may not know about. Some of them you may know. Brian, I know is familiar with some of the things we do. And just, I really would like this, if possible, to be a conversation. So please feel free as we're going through this to come off of mute. If you have a question, a comment, a ooh kind of thing with that. And teachers, I also completely understand if you're like, Amy, I talked all day. Okay, I don't want to talk to anybody. So either way is fine. And again, just really appreciate you being here and letting me share. So let me make sure I'm sharing correctly. and we'll get started. So if I put this in presentation mode. Excellent. All right, so this is really just some of the things we do and I tried to keep it just to construction. Okay. Those of you who don't know me, I am the instructional specialist and apprenticeship coordinator for, I don't know, like 11 different programs, including 6 construction ones. So yeah. All right. So we tied this just to construction for y'all. And am I going to make my slide work? No. Why is my slide not moving? No matter which button I hit. There we go. All right. So Prince George's County has multiple construction programs. All right. We've got carpentry, construction design management, electrical, HVAC, plumbing, masonry, at multiple sites across the county, even in our alternative schools. Okay, so they do a little bit of a different program with us there. We are affiliated, of course, with ABC and use the MCCEI curriculum for those trades courses. And we are, for the 2-year programs, which are construction trades, those are sites. So students can either be boundary students, or we provide transportation to the site closest to their home for that program. So these are across the county and we pull kids from everywhere. So I just want to show you, y'all have labs, right? Y'all have labs in your classrooms. And so when we're talking about hands-on learning and work-based experiences, obviously that lab setting is a portion of that. So these are just some of our students in our labs. Almost all of our labs have complete like mini mock-up houses or buildings so that they can actually run wire, they can, run plumbing, they can test different things. They have, beyond the trainers, they have old equipment that they can fix, they can work on, type of thing. But we try to set it up as realistically as possible in those lab settings so that their hands-on experience in the classroom is actually hands-on. Okay. But this is the fun part. Okay. Not that the class isn't fun. But we do a house every year. All right. We are on house number 46. All right. House number 46.
Wow.
Yeah, it's fun. It's cool. We also last year, in the middle of a pandemic, because why not, started our Apprenticeship Maryland program. So youth apprenticeship model. And we have the one and only in the state of Maryland school to work registered apprenticeship for a school system. So our school system actually is the apprenticeship provider. All right, for our students. So I'm going to run through some of these things with you, give you a little of the background, and then I'm going to be quiet, I promise, and let you take questions, ask questions about the different things that we have with these. So the link here is to the FACTS website. I will tell you right now, it's about 5 years out of date. Okay, so if you're looking at, I want to talk to that teacher, probably not the teacher anymore. But this is the website to the Foundation for Applied Construction Technology for Students, better known as FACTS. They are our board. They were founded in, I believe, 1981, all by donation. Okay, all by donation. And of course, that's FedEx at my door, because of course they're delivering right when I got started. So I'm going to pause myself for just a minute. Look at FACTS. All right, thank you, ma'am. You're welcome. Okay, my apologies. At the bottom, you see one of our celebrations. We typically do a celebration in the wintertime celebrating our FACTS board. So that is some of our board members and some of our students. But they are the ones who fund our student-built house. The original block of money came all from donations. And then the money each year is replenished based on the sale of our house. Okay, so this is self-funding after that initial grant of funding. And we have the board who does all the planning, for the house. So quickly, like I said, I have 100 slides here just so you can see some of my kids, okay, in action. Our carpentry students, from the framing to window installation, door installation, all the finished carpentry work done by our kids. Okay. Construction design management. Okay. These students, you know, our site directors, they are awesome guys. And they're like, how can we involve as many people as possible in this project? So while our CDM students don't build, they do come out to the site multiple times throughout the year. They've studied the blueprints. They come out and they can talk about the different parts of the build, actually see it in action, see what's happened. And they also design projects. So one of our houses, we did not have a deck. There was obviously room for a deck. And the owner, they had actually kind of pre-purchased the house from us. And they're like, we really want a deck. So our CDM students designed the deck. Okay, they had a little competition, different teams using their AutoCAD programming, designed the decks for the house, and the owner and the site managers got to choose the design, and then we built it. Okay, so CDM students are involved here as well. Electrical, from pulling the wire to final install of all of the fixtures, okay, lights, fans, outlets, all done by our kids. HVAC, I'm never out there on HVAC or plumbing day for some reason, but our HVAC students do all of the duct work, put in the vents, do the controls, all the panels. This was a day we had, we actually were out there filming at 5 a.m. Because we had a segment on News 4. And so we were out there doing a segment with them at 4 a.m. No lights in the building yet, but yeah. And masonry kids do all the brick. Okay, they don't pour concrete at this point, but they do all the brickwork on the home, interior and exterior. Plumbing does all the rough in, puts in all the fixtures. Okay, so these are the kids in their lab space, okay, learning how to do these things prior to going out to the house. And then we do some other interdisciplinary things where, again, how can we get as many different CTE kids involved as possible. So our Cisco program, they come out and they do the low voltage. They put in the security system. Our video production class at one of our high schools comes out, and you'll see in a moment here, they film the whole thing and they do like live from the student built house, and put out a commercial on their TV channel every morning when they go out to the house about what they're doing. And these are some of our interior design students who come out and work with stagers and help, figure out how they're going to stage the house before our dedication ceremony. So it's a communal process across as many different groups as we can get. And it's a great way to promote the house because, people in Northwestern High School where the video production class is, they're like, we didn't know you built a house. And I'm like, look, they've been building houses for like 30 years and you don't know we have a house. Okay, we do. And look at how beautifully they stage it. Okay, so this is actual staging done by our students, built by our students, ready for the dedication. This was from 2019. None of this happens without Jim and Kirk. Okay, Jim and Kirk are our site managers at the house. They are super guys, and they are the ones who deal with all of the issues of getting kids from schools across the county down to the house. They are the ones who do all of the orders. They are project managers of this project from permitting to punch out. Okay, and coordinating all of those kids. So this video, I don't know, Jen, are people going to be able, if I send these to you, share this presentation? Because I'm not going to show every video because I put like 10 videos in. Mm-hmm. But this is actually the video that our video production students put together. So it kind of shows their progression of the house. I'm going to show you just a little minute of it here. and this is a long one, so I'm going to stop it there, but when you get it, you can definitely watch. And they just took this video through the entire process from foundation to finish so that you could see all of the students at work in the different phases. Oh, wrong button. Let's see, how can I get this to not do that? Okay, let's try this again. Okay, there we go. We have a partner on our board, realtor. We have a few realtors, and our realtors, they do not take commission to sell our homes and put them on the market. Our last home, these are all in the Lusby Turn subdivision. We are working on our last 2 lots there. And I think the last house sold for, was it $495?
Yes.
You know, yay. Okay, so they do nice work, and proud of my kids. Okay, so here, that's our student built house. Okay, and so that the purpose behind our student built house was really to give our students an actual work site where they could go, take the things they learned in class, in the labs, go out, apply it, and then at the end of that experience, be able to look at that house, take their parents by and say, I built that. Okay, and that's something that at any time now they can go back and say, I built that. I did that brickwork. I put in those vents. I did that cabinetry. And so it's really fun, kind of the same way Karen and Mike were saying, to watch these kids from day one when they're out there and you hand them a nail gun and they're like, to the end where they're just like, pew, 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 with their nail guns and just, really stepping it up and able to do all of these different skills across these trades with confidence. Okay. And so really watching their confidence grow, watching our teachers grow. That was one of the best things for me as an educator, is going out to that job site and watching those instructors with those kids, and watching how they were able to just, make this a complete teaching experience, and keep it moving and get it done on time and on schedule. So a lot of fun. So we also do the Apprenticeship Maryland program. As I said, we launched this time last year in the midst of the pandemic, because why not? And honestly, my goal for last year was if I could find 2 partners. Okay, if I could just get 2 partners willing to sign up for this. Not even place a kid, just can you give me 2 partners, was our goal for the end of the year. And I think we are right now at 21. Okay, we have 21 partners who have completed the registration to do youth apprenticeship. We've only placed 1 kid at this time, but we have a second one who's going for an interview tomorrow. And we're hoping to get that second placement and then kind of keep this rolling from there. And so we have 2 videos here. The first one here is really aimed at if you're looking at how the heck do I get partners for youth apprenticeship. This is one of the videos that we put together for marketing purposes. So this is kind of our marketing, and it's not only for construction, but for all of our different trades we're kind of focusing on. So we're going to play this here real quick because it's short.
High demand fields like healthcare, IT, and construction are actively looking for their next employees, yet they're having difficulty finding qualified entry-level candidates. Prince George's County Public Schools CTE programs have hundreds of students currently training in these professions, earning industry-recognized credentials, and they are ready to connect with your company.
Thinking outside the box, our company decided to develop and grow our own workforce through the Prince George's County Public Schools Youth Apprenticeship Program. At first, we were apprehensive about combining high school students with our workforce. But for us, it's been a great experience.
I have the motivation.
I have the drive.
The attrition rate of our apprentices, 0. They've been great employees.
I'm ready to learn from you.
The response of their mentors has been overwhelmingly positive.
I'm ready to help you grow your company.
And the opportunity to pass on their knowledge and skills has drastically improved morale.
Youth apprenticeship programs prepare students for high-demand fields like healthcare, construction, information technology, and finance. They are different from traditional apprenticeship models in that business partners begin working with students in their junior year of high school. Furthermore, training is tailored to a company's specific needs, and apprentices are fully vetted.
I'm ready to grow with your company.
By connecting earlier, youth apprenticeships give companies more time to influence value systems, strengthen skills, and fully assess apprentices before making the determination to hire full-time.
I'm ready to learn from you.
Additionally, recruiting younger reinforces your company culture and helps retain your employees.
I'm ready.
It can also help lower your healthcare and pension costs.
I'm ready to learn from you.
Welcome to the workforce model of the present. You've got the careers. Prince George's County Public Schools has your future employees.
We've been training for this.
Okay, and again, in deference to time, okay, and I'll leave you the little teaser. I'll let you watch the next one on your own, which is one of my absolute favorite videos we've done because it actually follows 3 of our students who did not apprentice with us, who apprenticed with WL Gary, one of our partner companies. And so just their experience of hearing them out on the job, hearing from their mentors about what apprenticeship is all about for them. So yay, my apprentices, which it's going to autoplay anyway. And this is our first youth apprentice. Okay, Miss India Peacock, who when people are like, what exactly do you do with youth apprenticeship? Why is this valuable to a student? And so India, bless her heart, this little girl went out when we announced this opportunity with this company. This is with Crockett Facilities. India's just like, okay, where do I apply? You know, we'd worked on resumes and things, and she sent them her resume. She set up her own interview. She went there to the job. I've never met India face to face. Okay. Everything was done over Zoom. All of our check-ins, all of our things at that point. And so it was just really fantastic to sit down. We did a virtual interview. So these are actually her words about her experience with youth apprenticeship. So it is possible. It's slow, right? It's hard trying to get these things set up. Some of y'all might be having better success than we are. But we are slow and steady, all right, with our Apprenticeship Maryland program. And now kind of our signature program, all right, which is our registered apprenticeship. So Prince George's County, when you think about the whole idea of grow our own, all right, is the model here, in that within the building services department, they're having difficulty staffing. All right, we were having difficulty staffing technicians. People can make more in the private sector than working for a school system. And so trying to find HVAC techs and plumbers and masons and you know, they're like, we can't. So the school system decided that they were going to take the leap and create their own apprenticeship program. And so this is a school to work model where our students in 11th grade begin, they're in their trade courses, and then they apply for this apprenticeship, which begins their junior year. Their junior year, the summer between junior and senior year, they work full-time with building services. Their starting wage is $15 an hour. That goes up to $17 an hour when they hit their senior year. And then from there on, it goes on to our regular wage scale. They work full-time there. While they are still in high school, they are, of course, completing their training with us. They go through core level 1 and level 2. And when they graduate, they are either hired full-time by us, okay, in building services in their trade, where they will continue their apprenticeship with us, where we will supply through PGCC, our community college, the level 3 and level 4 training, get them their 6,000 to 8,000 hours of training on the job to sit for their licensure. All right, so this is a full apprenticeship of our own students working with our own workers. Those who are not hired in with us based on number of slots we have available, we help them with placement with other apprenticeships and with our partners. All right, so for the past 3 years, every single student who has come out of a PGCPS construction trades program who was looking for employment or an apprenticeship, every single one had at least one job offer. Okay, every single one. And I put that out to our partners who have been fantastic. And so I am going to skip over this video as well, because this one's a longer one that explains the whole thing. But just kind of lead you through the process. The day we got approval, we had our launch. Okay, so there was a whole lot of finger crossing that MTAC was going to say yes, because we already had a launch set up, ready to go to announce this. And so this was at our launch. You can see we had a huge interest from our parents and our students, our official proclamation that there we are, which within a few months' time, we had a signing day. All right, so we had a big ceremony. We did a signing day. We had that first year 20 apprentices, which we decided because Sam, our director of building services, is a soft touch. And so he's like, yeah, let's take them all. And we soon found out that was a bad idea because we didn't have 20 open positions. Okay, so that's where we had to like scramble to find some others because we didn't have anybody quit. We had 0 attrition, 0. We were expecting about 50%. We had 0. Okay, Valerie, you have a question?
Yes, I do. So you say building services, are these your HVAC plumbing folks, or are they like the building service workers in the schools?
This is our maintenance department. So
Okay.
these are our HVAC techs, plumbing, we have carpentry shop, electrical shop, and they go to work with our techs.
Okay. And my next question is this, because we had everything worked out until we found out that none of our drivers in our maintenance departments was allowed to drive anybody else. So the students had to provide their own transportation. We could get them to work, but then in between jobs at different schools, they had to have their own transportation because nobody could drive them. Did you run into any of those issues again about transportation?
Yeah. I have a whole slide of problems. So I will talk to you about all of our problems, one of which was transportation, but not the transportation you're talking about. That was not an issue for us. We had other transportation issues. So that one, no, which surprises me because if there was a problem, we had it. But we'll see what we can come up with here as maybe some solutions for you. So these are just a few of them of the 20. And then they went to work. Okay, they went to work. And these guys, this is the best part of the program besides for our kids, was the maintenance guys. All right, there is nobody in a school system who has less status than your maintenance guys, right? Okay, if we're gonna be honest, your custodial staff, your maintenance staff, people don't even see them, or they're always grumbling about them. And so one of the side effects that we didn't think about or expect that was just warmed my heart was to see these guys kind of swell up with pride when they were working with their apprentice. Okay, that they were able to teach them, that they were able to pass on their knowledge and their skills, and that somebody really cared and thought that they were smart and good and they had something to teach them. And every time I would go out to the shops, every time they got to know my face, and they'd run up to me with their cell phones and they're like, Amy, look at what my kid did today. And they would have pictures, they'd have video. And we took them out and we did. I said, please don't tell me that. Okay, that I don't need to know. But they just really embraced these kids. Bought them boots, bought them tools, got them books, got them, these were their kids. So that's been a bonus, okay, that we weren't expecting. That has just been phenomenal. Leading to this, Okay, so when they graduate from high school and come to work full time. All right, like the day after graduation, they're like coming to work. And so from launch to signing day to full time to part time to, with their on the job training, they are now full time employees. Okay. And just to, again, we'll hit it when we hit the problems, because we did have lots of problems. But the idea is they are all now, that first cohort 20, are in their level 3 class. All right. They are still collecting their OJT hours. And we are hoping that in the next year and a half to 2 years, we will have our first group of licensed journeymen out of our apprenticeship. So we're super excited. I love this program. I love these kids. They are just phenomenal young people. It doesn't happen though just with us. We have a phenomenal set of partners who work with us, who even before the pandemic came in and did really cool things with our kids. And this one I'm going to show because it was fun, to show you some of the work-based learning things you can do in your classroom. If you're like, look, Amy, we can't build a house. Okay. Something we can't get to. But these are some different things you can do with your partners. We had people come in trade specific. We did some interdisciplinary ones. This is actually an interdisciplinary activity we did when we were in the world of COVID. We had more than, I lost count. I quit counting. We had more than 40 partners involved with our kids, in different activities over the course of the year. 40 different partners were in our classrooms over the year. And so that was fantastic. So this was Cummins Wagner. They came in with a proposal. They're like, hey, we want to partner. We want to do something with your kids. And they're like, we want to do as much as we can. So we came up with an interdisciplinary project. The guys came in, here, Kyle, he was the business owner, and he presented them with a problem. And he said, I need you to build a cooling system for my building. And we divided the kids up in teams. And here's where it got interdisciplinary. We brought in our Project Lead the Way students, our pre-engineering students, and teamed them up with our HVAC students and put them on teams together and then led them through this scenario.
We're really excited to share with you the real life examples of how engineering and the trades work together. I'm a building owner and it's hot in the building. I need it to cool down. Can you help me?
I want to get my bachelor's degree in biomolecular engineering. I wasn't familiar with heating or cooling systems. Good to get to work with some people who do.
Design me a system that will cool my space down.
What kind of piping?
When we apply it to like real life, what type of pump, what type of fan, everything comes into play.
Think about that budget.
Put the fan relatively
Right here.
yeah, angle towards this way.
I'm gonna be an Yankee custom in a minute too. 1 minute left. For Cummins Wagner, we really want to be a part of molding the next generation of technicians, of engineers, and helping them see how both those fields work together. If we want students to see that people like them from backgrounds similar to them are in this industry, I'm gonna go with group 2. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
It gives you like an inspiration. It feels like once you get out of high school, you can do basically anything you want.
Having trouble shutting off the video. And moving it forward. So that's just one of the ways that they came in. We had people last year during COVID with their little GoPros on their head, like out on rooftops, showing kids taking apart machines, fixing things, doing demos from their labs, anything that they could do to give them that experience as close as possible to being in the field. Our partners, when I said we had over 40 partners, they came in and did boot camps and workshops with our kids on all of those soft skills. Okay, so we did resume writing. We did it. Every single one of our students had their resume read by at least 2 HR professionals. Okay, and received feedback from them. Essential work skills on, being on time, how to address an adult, how to address your boss, who is not your buddy. Okay. Those type of conversation, interview skills, mock interviews. And with Employ Prince George's, we actually had a job fair that was exclusive to our PGCPS students. So we had, again, dozens of partners show up for that job fair. This one I included because it's kind of a little poignant picture for me, the picture down at the bottom, because we went to do job interviews. And the next day was the day we shut down for COVID. Okay. So that was my last experience in a school, for a year, was taking those kids for those job interviews. So yeah, it's been a wild ride. So here's the problems. All right. We had every problem you can imagine. Okay. Permitting. Yeah. From getting permits to transportation, logistics, graduation requirements, work schedules, issues with the union, legal issues, COVID, lockdown, you name it. We had it with these programs. And so to address kind of some of those transportation issues, we all know as far as going out to work, transportation issues. One of our partners, the ones that you saw there with W.L. Gary, that was a partnership that we got through the Mechanical Contractors Association. And they actually applied for one of those grants. And so they paid for our students' transportation for the entire summer. And somebody, I think it was Valerie, had said, it was about $50. No, it was like $80 to $100 a day, because they were coming from Prince George's County to a job site up in Montgomery County. And the idea behind that was that the company would foot that bill for the first 3 months, so that the students would then be able to bank some of the money they were making and then provide their own transportation afterwards. But we got transportation logistical issues with getting kids to the student built house, because they come from all over. And so we've got to have bus schedules, and they're coming to this school first and picking up at this time. Oh, and guess what? All of our schools started at a different time. So arranging all of those transportation things. We learned really quickly with our registered apprenticeship that we were not going to be able to have those kids do work during the day. We had an ambitious schedule at the beginning. We're like, yeah, on Mondays, they're gonna work full time with building services in the evening with the evening crew until, a very helpful and nice person from MSDE and Department of Labor said, Amy, you're breaking OSHA. Your kids, you're breaking labor laws. And we're like, okay. So we had to modify that schedule back. And so now what we've worked out, and it was also hurting our building services, because they were picking kids up from school, going to a job site, having to stop work, drive them back, so that they could meet that time. We had kids coming to school in the morning. And so we scaled that back, that during the school year, they work only on days when school is not in session. And then they can work a full day. Or if there is evening work, they can work up some, they can pick up some part-time hours that way if there's work available. So if there was an issue, we had it. Okay. What do we do with these kids during COVID? So kind of going back to Valerie's question on riding in trucks. Okay. Again, that didn't come up as an issue for us. What did was we couldn't transport them in a van. I don't know what the heck that is. You could put them on a bus or you can put them in a work vehicle, but you couldn't put them in a van and take them all together. So we're like, okay, we won't do that. But during COVID, during our lockdown, even for our students who were graduates, because they were apprentices, they were not allowed to drive the work vehicles. And so they had to ride in a vehicle with someone, and our COVID protocols were one person per vehicle. So bless our department, bless our CEO. She paid those kids that entire time when we were on lockdown and they were not allowed to work. Okay. They did not get hours towards OJT, but they were kept on the payroll. Okay. So huge support from our district to make this happen and make this a success. And we fortunately, across building services, HR and CTE, we are a team of Yodas. Okay. We got a team of Yodas who are just like, whatever roadblock you're gonna throw up at us, it's okay, because we're gonna find a way to make it work. So perseverance, perseverance, perseverance. And because I know y'all have had a long, long, long day, please, if I can help you, please let me help you. Okay. And I want to hear the great things you're doing. Mike, I was just like, wow, that's the coolest thing ever. Doing some of that renovation work. We come from different counties, different systems, but we are all doing the same work. Okay. We are all here to educate kids. We are all here to make better communities. And so if there is any way that we in Prince George's can be helpful to you, we want to do that. So please do connect, share your projects. We want, my big thing is share the love. And so if you're doing great things, we want to advertise that too. We want to spread the word of what our colleagues are doing and doing well. So my information is there. And again, we can share that with you. You are welcome to reach out to me. And if I can't help you, we will find somebody who can. But at this point, I'm going to stop talking.
Awesome.
Do you have any questions for Amy? You guys have a lot of amazing stuff happening. So thank you very much for, and you were right. You got it in quickly. I'm impressed. All right. Well, thank you all very much for your presentations and sharing. Again, if you have any colleagues that weren't able to attend and you think would be able to find this information useful, we will be posting this on our YouTube. And thank you all. We will have another one coming up in February, another after school session like this. And I appreciate it. Have a great holiday season for everyone.
Thank you
So
so
much.
much.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks.